For both amateur home cooks and seasoned chefs, maintaining a well-stocked spice collection is a fundamental aspect of enhancing the flavors of your culinary creations. It's important to recognize that spices serve more than just a seasoning role in your dishes. They can also contribute to preserving your ingredients and infusing your meals with vibrant colors and health-promoting plant compounds. Many commonly used spices and herbs, such as cloves, turmeric, rosemary, sage, and cinnamon, are known for their potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Moreover, emerging evidence suggests that incorporating spices and herbs into your diet may reduce the risk of complications linked to heart and respiratory diseases. If you've been amassing an assortment of herbs and spices over time, you might be curious about their shelf life and when it's appropriate to replace them. This article delves into the longevity of common dried herbs and spices, along with guidelines on how to determine when it's time to refresh your spice collection. Shelf life of common herbs and spices. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, classifies spices as aromatic vegetable substances, in the whole, broken, or ground form, whose significant function in food is seasoning rather than nutrition. In the culinary realm, spices are derived from dried plant roots, bark, or stems, whereas herbs come from the dried or fresh leaves of plants. Several factors influence the shelf life of dried herbs and spices, including their type, processing, and storage conditions. For instance, dried spices generally have a longer shelf life compared to dried herbs, and whole, less processed seasonings outlast their ground counterparts. Dried herbs typically maintain their quality for 1 to 3 years. Some examples include basil, oregano, thyme, rosemary, bay leaves, dill, parsley, cilantro, mint, marjoram, sage. Ground or powdered spices usually retain their freshness for 2 to 3 years. Common examples include powdered ginger, garlic powder, ground cinnamon, chili powder, ground turmeric, ground allspice, ground cardamom, ground paprika, crushed red pepper flakes, seasoning blends. Whole or unground spices have the most extended shelf life because they have less surface area exposed to air, light, and moisture. This helps them preserve their aromatic oils and flavor compounds much longer than their ground counterparts. When stored correctly, whole spices can remain usable for up to 4 years. Examples of these include whole peppercorns, coriander, mustard seeds, fennel seeds, caraway seeds, cumin seeds, whole nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon sticks, whole dried chili peppers, lemongrass. Salt, on the other hand, defies these rules as it can be used indefinitely, regardless of its size or shape, without spoiling or losing flavor. However, if you're dealing with a seasoned salt blend, keep in mind that any supplementary seasonings may lose their potency over time. In summary, dried herbs and spices have varying shelf lives, typically ranging from 1 to 4 years, depending on their type, processing, and storage. Assessing spice freshness. Dried herbs and spices don't undergo traditional expiration or spoilage like perishable foods. When we talk about a spice going bad, we mean that it has diminished in flavor, potency, and color. Fortunately, consuming a spice past its prime is unlikely to cause any health issues. Many commercially available spices are labeled with "best by" dates, indicating the period during which they will maintain their optimal flavor and quality. Nevertheless, it is generally safe to use dried herbs and spices that have surpassed their best by date, though they may not impart as much flavor as their fresher counterparts. To gauge whether your spices are due for replacement, rely on your senses. Crush or rub a small quantity in your palm and assess their scent and flavor. If the fragrance is faint, and the taste lacks vibrancy, it's probably time to restock your spice cabinet. In essence, expired dried spices may not pose health risks, but they will lose their aroma and flavor over time. Maximizing spice shelf life through storage. Preserving the freshness of your herbs and spices hinges on minimizing their exposure to air, heat, light, and moisture. This practice not only reduces waste but also saves money by avoiding unnecessary purchases. While it might be tempting to display your spice collection in clear containers near your stove for convenience and aesthetics, it's not the best way to maintain their potency. Instead, opt for a cool, dry, and dark storage location, such as a pantry, drawer, or cupboard, positioned away from heat sources like stoves or ovens. Ensure that your spices are stored in well-sealed, non-porous containers. Glass or ceramic containers are excellent choices, as they are easy to clean and effectively keep air and moisture at bay. While plastic containers are commonly used, they may not always provide an airtight seal and can absorb the colors and aromas of different spices, making them more challenging to reuse. Stainless steel or tin containers are also suitable but require additional care, as metal conducts heat and should be kept away from heat sources. Though refrigeration isn't obligatory, red spices like paprika and cayenne pepper will maintain their color longer if stored in the refrigerator. Likewise, seasonings containing oils, such as sesame and poppy seeds, benefit from refrigeration to prevent rancidity. Be mindful that moisture can rapidly degrade the flavor and texture of your spices, potentially causing clumping or mold growth. If you notice mold in any spice container, dispose of the product in question. To keep your spices dry, use a spoon to extract them from the container before adding them to hot dishes, rather than sprinkling them directly from the container. In conclusion, herbs and spices serve essential roles in flavor enhancement and food preservation. Dried herbs and spices can be stored for a duration of 1 to 4 years, contingent upon their type, processing, and storage conditions. While spices past their prime won't harm you, they will lose their aroma and flavor. Therefore, to prolong their shelf life, store them away from air, light, heat, and moisture, thereby maximizing their utility, reducing waste, and optimizing your culinary budget.